Hey, it's Isabelle from 22 Wayne Nordby. Now, I know these past few weeks have been really tough for all of us, especially on a training standpoint. However, I found that the best way to get through this and stay positive was to work on a new skill or work on technique on some movements that you know you have trouble with. If you take the time now to work on your weaknesses, and obviously time is no longer an excuse, then you can really improve movement ability, your skill set, body awareness. And that means that when we come back to our normal lives, whenever this is all over, you'll be able to get stronger and get even fitter than you would have if you hadn't taken the time to work on your weaknesses. So I thought I would do a series of tutorials on some very basic movements all the way to some more advanced skills with a lot of variations so everyone could try and benefit from it. So today for the first tutorial, we will work on the bodyweight squat. Stay tuned. Today I want to take a look at the bodyweight squat. So if you're having trouble going all the way down in your squat, this video is for you because I'll be sharing some tips that will help you improve your range of motion and to be able to do this movement effectively and safely. I want to start by highlighting some common mistakes that we see in the squat. If you have poor ankle mobility, you may have a hard time keeping your heels on the ground as you go down in the squat. It's important to correct that because it causes strain in the knee joint. Rather than a mobility issue, you may have a faulty motor pattern. Some people tend to push their hips back and let their head move forward instead of staying in a straight line up and down. This is not a safety issue, but it really limits your movement ability and strength potential. Another common mistake is caused by lack of activation in the glutes, causing the knees to cave in when trying to come out of the squat. It's really important to keep the knees tracking with the toes on the way down and on the way up. This greatly reduces the strain on the knee joint and allows for proper activation and coordination of all the leg muscles. So, to do a perfect body weight squat, you need to squat until the top of your thighs are at least parallel with the ground, heels remaining on the ground at all times, knees tracking over toes, chest up, and your torso and head should be moving together in almost a straight line from top to bottom. Some people may have a hard time to even get into the squat position. So if that's your case, what I like to have people do first is to start from the ground. So placing your feet flat on the ground, about hip width distance, you're going to slide your weight back and forth, trying to bring your rear end towards your heels, and only go as far as your heels remain on the ground. So if your heels start to lift, that means you went too far. As you get better at this, you can start to walk your hands further in, working on that range of motion in your hips and ankles. So if you have a hard time to get into the deep squat position, I recommend that you practice this drill about 3 to 5 minutes per day. And gradually, this will improve your range of motion and your ability to stay in that position. So once you're able to basically rest the back of your thighs on your calves, you can move on to the next step, which is to walk yourself up into the squat. So for this drill, you want to walk your hands forward until you're in a squat position, so your belly is resting on your thighs. Heels remain on the ground and focus on keeping your knees tracked over your toes. However, do not worry too much about your back position. So as you can see in the video, my back is rounded, which we would not want to see in the squat, but we're just working on a range of motion here, getting comfortable in resting in the squat position. And once you get more comfortable in that position, you can start to play a little bit with it. So shifting your weight side to side, see how far you can go, keeping your heels on the ground. Once your body gets used to being in that squat position, we can start to work on activation. We want to take our back from that rounded position and make it straight. So lift your arms so that they're parallel with the ground and try to activate your back muscles as you sit back as much as possible. You're probably going to feel a lot of tension in the front of your shins, and this is totally normal. So I recommend you perform 3 sets of 5 to 8 reps of that active to passive squat, trying to hold the active position for at least 5 seconds each rep. I want to touch briefly on foot placement. Ideally, you want to have your toes slightly turned out, but the angle doesn't matter as much as making sure that your knees are in line with your toes. You may take your legs a little bit wider, as I'm showing here, if hip mobility is an issue. However, we don't want to turn our toes out too much because this is really not ideal for proper muscle recruitment. So just slightly turned out, making sure that your knees are tracking over your toes. Now that we got our range of motion down and we're able to activate our core and keep the proper posture at the bottom of the squat, it's time to work on the full movement. So a very good progression to be able to develop the proper pattern is to use a support. You can use a pole, a rail. I'm sure there are many things that you can find at home to work on this drill. So stand a few feet apart from your support, and you can use your free arm as a counterbalance. And think about all those cues, keeping your heels down, your knees tracking over your toes, and your torso and head going in a straight line from top to bottom. And you're using that support to pull yourself up and balance yourself on the way down as well. Once you get comfortable with that, you can try to do negative squats. In this one, you're not using your support on the way down, but you're still using it on the way up because you want to make sure that your torso and head stay in a straight line from top to bottom. So not shifting your weight forward over your toes as you're trying to come out of the squat. And using your support will help you stay in that straight line. So take some time to work on this drill. It will help you be more aware of your position and reinforce the proper motor pattern. Once you get more confident, then still stand close to your support in case you need it, but try to perform the full body weight squat without using your support. That's it for your body weight squat tutorial. I really hope that these tips were useful to you. And I strongly encourage you to dedicate at least 5 to 10 minutes per day to work on these drills if you really want to improve your squat. So stay active. See you next time.